Hello and welcome to the Disruptor Podcast. Yes. I have changed the name again. I mean, has there been any other podcast that has changed its name any more often than me? I don't know, maybe. But that just shows my growth, right? It just shows where or how I am continually growing and expanding into something different. So I am always moving. I am always growing and learning new things as I sort of progress along this journey of mine. Speaking of journeys, if you listened to my podcast last week, it was about the anniversary of my husband's passing, the depths of sorrow and pain I was in, and a new awareness that came to me, literally fell into my lap at the most beautiful time. It restored my wavering belief in the concept of this reality we live in and the possibilities that we have on the other side of that. So today's podcast is all about the dark side. And I'm not talking about Darth Vader, or am I? I didn't even think about this. But no, this is not a Star Wars recap or episode. However, it is about the dark side. And, even me just saying that, referring to Star Wars or to Darth Vader, is the whole idea of this concept that dark is bad, that dark means scary, that dark is all monsters and fears and sacrifices and blood-sucking. And these are just some of the things that I think of. If you mentioned it to yourself or to someone else saying the dark side, that would look different for everyone. But I'm pretty sure a lot of it, there would be some sort of perception of it not being good. And it's funny because I've always liked darker things, not just in colours or clothes. And let's be real, everyone used to wear dark colours because it hides the rolls. But it was more of a drawing to, I don't know, to me it always felt like an endless possibility. Whereas if you compare it on a very sort of superficial and outside looking in, here's the dark, here's the light. To me, the light was, this is so fun. We're dancing in the meadows. We all love each other. We're dancing around. It's so bright. And then if you consider the dark side, it's like, sadness, anger, fear, scary. And so that's like a surface level sort of thought that instantly would come to my mind if you wanted to compare the dark and light. So because of that basis, you would think, well, if I'm enjoying or liking or just sort of feel more drawn to the darkness, and I'm using air quotes, does that make me a bad person? Does that make me someone who just likes, I don't know, emo things or something? And it's not, and that's not really what I'm talking about today. So with this new awareness that came to me, it was the whole concept that in 2018 there was a new portal that opened. Now, this information is secondhand. This is not my own download. I haven't even tapped into it. I don't think it matters for where I'm going or what I'm doing. But what I've seen from a few different people or heard is that there was this new portal that opened up in 2018. It's called a dark portal, which started to bring in dark codes. Because when we look at consciousness or spirituality or however you want to look at our current existence. If you're a spiritual or healing person, or you're someone who's working towards ascension, or from 3D to 5D, or, making your way to New Earth, it's all the same thing, right? And that is all based on the current concept of the light grid. You will hear people talking about the light, and I have spoken about the light a lot, because that was the understanding that I was taught and that I believed in, and that I can see and understand and draw from. So the light grid is the whole basis of the one consciousness. It is where we are all connected. Yes, we're all energetic, vibrational frequencies. Yes, everything we want exists in that light grid, in that oneness. Yes, all the modalities, teaching, the beliefs that everyone has. And I'm going to back this up by my own learnings and my own understandings. And from what I have experienced, is that the information, because let me tell you, I searched a lot. So if there was one topic that someone spoke about, I would want to hear that from 5 different people. And I've always done that, and I always thought I don't know. I thought it was because I didn't really trust the information that the person was bringing, but it makes more sense now. We're on the dark side, but we'll get to that later. But what I found, what a key component of this light grid, of this one consciousness experience was, everyone was literally saying the same thing. They were just saying it in a different way. And I get that. I don't believe that any of it is wrong. I also don't believe any of it's right. I believe that all that information out there has been created to give us the tools to help us move towards that one consciousness. So whether it was, just say you were a full, right into astrology. So you followed what the planets were doing every day. You followed your own star sign, your rising sign, your moon sign, whatever you were following, and you tapped into that and you went, oh no, I'm in retrograde. This is going to happen. Okay, I'm going to work on this, etc. That's fine. If that is working for you, awesome. But then someone else comes along and go, no, I'm working on my human design and my gene keys. I'm understanding that based on when I was born, that I have these aspects of self. I have these traits that may appear. I have these things that I need to work on or work through or may come up. That's fine. Then it could be, someone else who likes to do tarot cards and they're working on the tarot cards every day. What's going to come up for me, etc. And I could go on and on and on, but you get the gist. But all of that is just giving us a tool to give us more insight on who we are as part of that oneness grid. We are drawing on information that already exists, and we're just pulling it in. We're pulling in the pieces, and we are presenting it in a way that makes sense to us. And then the people who agree or resonate with that will also agree with that. For me, when I started learning about all that stuff, I would flip and flop. Well, you can tell by how many podcast name changes I have. I would flip and flop everywhere. Oh, I'm all into astrology. Oh no, now I'm into the moon. I'm just following the moon. Oh, human design. What? Oh no, now I'm just channeling collectives. Now I'm just doing light language. And it just went on and on and on and on and on. And I jumped and jumped and jumped. But guess what? Yes, I made some progress. Yes, I was able to totally change my life around. I'm definitely not the person I was 2 years ago. But have I got to where I really want to be? Have I been able to show up as the actual person that I know I am? To show up as the truth of who I am? And I can honestly say no. And I think that was the struggle for me this year was, well, I'd been hopping around and following all these people and learning all this stuff and doing all the things, but I just wasn't getting the results. And people would say to me, well, you're creating all these things, but you're not fully backing yourself. You'll mention it once and you're off. And it's like, I kind of lose interest. And then it's, that's based on your human design, or that's based on your astrology. But it's only now I realize I could never fully be behind any of that stuff I did because I fully didn't believe it. And I know I was getting that information over the last few months. I really felt that push towards stop listening and hanging on the tailcoats of everyone else and start stepping into your own voice. Stop trying to hold on to the information that someone else says and know that what you believe and what you see and what you know to be true and what is the true version of you is exactly all you need to be, is all that you need to show other people to draw what you want to you. Because even with the social media and things like that, everything just became one voice. I could scroll through Facebook, and even though, say, there's 100 different posts I scroll through and they're all amazing people speaking and writing these beautiful things, it was just becoming one voice. It's like you're all just saying the same thing, just from your own experience or your own viewpoint of where you're at. And so I had to jump off there because it was just, okay, Anna, focus in. What do you believe in? And that's what I sort of started with. What right now do you 100% believe to be true for you, regardless if anyone else thinks that's truth, regardless if not one other person in this world is saying, or not one other person in this world believes what you've said when you've said it before? What do you believe to be true? And know that it would not fluctuate even if every single person in the world said you were wrong. And that's where I started from. And there wasn't too much that I could really write, because everything that I speak of or have spoken about in the past, it was, yes, I can see what I'm saying about this. However, I can also see the other side to it. So I was trying to come across as everything you believe is correct, because I believe that we all have our own truths. And, if you were someone who believed in one thing and didn't believe in another thing, that doesn't mean that one person who believed in it is wrong compared to the other person who doesn't believe in it. So I was trying to have the standpoint of seeing it from everybody's perspective, but that was only because I knew that all of it's true, because it's all coming from the same spot. It's all coming from that light grid, and what the light grid is and what everyone else is bringing in, channeling and connecting to and creating modalities, etc., is all from one place. It is from the oneness, and it all exists. And so we're just drawing on experiences of others. We are drawing on the shadows of others. So because the light consciousness has been around for so long, and because so many people have come in with their souls and with their own little soul journey and all these shadows, it's like the light grid has started to get a little bit cloudy. And I kept saying this, it was only like maybe a month or so ago, where I don't know, I was saying to someone about how I can literally feel when someone is speaking in a shadow or with distortion. And sometimes they would be really great and powerful, and the way I see it was this beautiful light. Then suddenly they would say something or do something and I'm like, no. Or even in someone's post, you could see, if they had a couple of paragraph posts or something, I could literally feel and see where it sort of came off kilter. And I couldn't put that into words or describe what I meant, because I'm sure people I've said it to, they're like, oh my God, this chick is crazy. But I could literally see a difference between the tone, the way they were speaking, the way it was coming across, where it was sort of dipping and then rising sort of between the shadow and the light. But now I get it. It's because that light consciousness is full of shadow. So when we do have these coaches and mentors who are bringing in their light message, and they are light workers and they're here to help others, they don't know that they are also drawing on those distorted or shadowed codes, even though they're still in the light grid and they're still channeling light, there is still some distortion that even, the most seasoned light worker is not able to see. And I really noticed that, just in the last few months. So with this new awakening, with this new portal, what has happened is because this light grid has started to get a little bit dirty, it's like dirty water. You know what I mean? It's like it's started to get a little bit contaminated, a little bit corrupted. A portal has opened to create a new consciousness. It's called a dark consciousness. And the way that I see it and how some others see it is it's totally different to the light grid. It's a totally different consciousness. Yes, we can still use some of the modalities or some of the understandings and things from the light grid, but the difference between the dark and the light grid is the darkness is not going to call to everyone. It's not going to be, oh, I'm over in the light. Ooh, I might go over in the dark now. It's going to call to certain people. And I feel for me, that's why I never felt comfortable over here in the light, in the light consciousness, because it didn't feel like home to me. It didn't feel 100% right. Sure, I could have jumped on board. Well, I did. I literally did. Yes, I'm preaching this, I'm preaching that, but it changed so much. But now the difference is, right? So with the light grid is us drawing on the oneness of everything. We're all one. We're all creating things that already exist. We're just pulling these things in closer to us. We are working on the shadows and the beliefs that come up so we can, really bring in and manifest everything that we want, the people that we want, the experiences that we want, because it's all there and it all works and it's still all perfectly fine for so many people to follow and do. But in this new dark consciousness, what happens is it's not a oneness anymore. It's an individuation where we are being called to step more into the individual. Wow, I'm having problems saying this one. Individualness of who we are. So it's probably seen as a little bit more lonely. It's more of a solo journey where, yes, we can still step in, do our shadow alchemy, work on our beliefs and stories, etc., whatever it is that is holding us back, but we can use shadow alchemy to literally permanently remove those shadows if they appear. However, the focus is more into stepping onto the truth, the true genius that we are at our core, the true channel for our soul that does not hold any of those experiences or stories that it would when we are sitting in the light grid. So if you can imagine us channeling information, but we don't have a ceiling or a floor, we are channeling information that comes in and comes out. We are channeling from our highest version of self. We are channeling the truth of who we are, the genius of who we are. However, what that looks like can be chaotic. It can be disruptive. This is why I'm called my podcast, the disruptors. And when we think of these words, it's just like when we're thinking of the word dark. We are thinking of bad things. We're thinking, chaos sounds messy, disruptive. That sounds like naughty and dark. That is scary. But these are all the words that are part of this dark consciousness because we've been taught so much and for so long that we need to follow the love and light grid. We need to follow what everyone else is telling us is the right things to do instead of us really tapping into the truth of who we are without shadow and really stepping into the genius that we are at our core. Because once we remove those shadows, which we can do with the light grid, what I found with shadows is they would keep coming back no matter what modality or tool I used. The same crap kept coming up over and over and over again. It's like, holy shit. And that's because it's all sitting in one grid. it's just recycling itself. Sure, we can move past things, but there's still moments where they come in and we've got to work through them. Yes, they get easier. Yes, they get smaller, but they're still there. But over in the dark consciousness, I am able to fully alchemize my shadows first and fully step into my true self. Instead of me looking at my past and how many times it's affected me and all these lives and my akashics, etc., etc. To me, that's like leaning in on your back foot. You're leaning backwards. You are stepping backwards. You are leaning, going, here's all the pull of my past. Let me clear all this. Instead of leading with your right foot or your leading foot and leaning forward into who you are. And the only way you're going to get to who you are is by leaning forward, moving forward, and following those intuitive hunches, your soul speak, you being able to tap into your true genius, which will only come in, which will only be seen once you have fully alchemized all those shadows. So even in the darkness, how we're talking about the shadows, but we're talking about eliminating them. But once they're gone, we are still in the dark. We are still considered a dark worker because we are working on the possibility of creating something new. Whereas in the light grid, we were drawing on the experiences that already were. So that is the main difference, is we are creating from a space of nothingness. It's what can I create? What does this genius of myself, because I have no shadows, I'm creating only from my pure genius, what is coming in? I'm going to do this. I feel like doing that. And we are continually moving that foot forward, creating something new, instead of in the light grid where it all exists and we're just pulling in those pieces. So the way that I can visualize it, so in the light grid, to me, I could see different timelines. I could see different aspects of self, different versions, different multi-dimensional versions of me. And we could draw on them. And that was one of the things that I spoke about, was being able to draw on those different aspects of self, getting those strengths from this aspect to lead us towards this thing that we wanted. So I could see the timelines. And, when I started unlocking my light language, it was once I could see consciousness at its core, I could pull in those threads of the things that I wanted wherever they existed and allow them to be drawn closer to me by pulling them in and allowing whatever came up to come up so that I could keep drawing those things in. So I could see possible timelines. I could see different time frames, different versions of self, different outcomes to situations. Whereas over here in the dark, do you know what I see when I try to look forward? Nothing. So it is literally black. It is dark. It is endless possibilities of creation in my pure genius. And it feels so much lighter and expansive for me in that place where I feel like I can create what I want. And it's not going to be based on what this person did or what that person said to do. It's going to be based on me just listening to myself. So I've unsubscribed from everything. I delete 99% of the emails that I receive. I can't sit on social media and watch other people anymore because I know everything that I need is within. And have I alchemized all my shadows? No, I've literally only discovered this over a week ago, but I can tell you it is so much easier from where I am now, working on the shadow alchemy, working on how to fully release these shadows once and for all, and really leaning in and stepping into this creative genius being version of who I am is definitely the right step to where I am. Do I have all the information? No. Am I creating it as we go? Yes, because part of my true genius is being able to really allow and express my true voice. And by that, I mean is speaking what I want to speak instead of worrying about how the other person's going to react to something I say, instead of worrying about, oh, is this going to be good for that person, or should I do this, can so and so, blah, blah, blah. No. What do I want? What do I want to say? What do I want to do? And it's not like a fuck you, I don't give a shit about your emotions type of attitude. It's more of, what is my truth? What do I want to say? What do I want to do? What is right for me right now, regardless of what the perceived possible outcome will be. And that's what I'm moving towards. And there's some weird things that come in that, you know, my own self is telling me to do, but it's making me step into areas that are new, especially some that seem super scary. And I'll have to do a whole talk about that. But it's not just, I want to, just say I want to grow this business. It's not just we're working on this business. We're working on other areas to allow that to come through. Because if you have shadows, just say if your shadows are on relationships, but your business is lacking, it may be something worth looking at to work on what your shadows are in relationships to help the growth of the business. So that's where I'm really sitting at the moment. And part of the new genius version of self that I'm stepping into is really speaking my own skills and my own talents out into the open. Because if any of you people, I hate people who say that, but anyone out there who is listening and has been on their own spirituality or healing path and have things that come in, either weird sayings, weird collectives, weird skills like magic skills or intuition skills, or weird thoughts, weird ideas, because let me tell you, I have a lot. Now is the time to accept them, because I honestly believe whatever comes in is real. So all those thoughts that we toss aside and go, no, that's not real, I can't do that. No, you're being an idiot. That makes no sense. Oh no, you can't tell anyone about that. That sounds like you were crazy. They'll lock you up. Step into them. That is you trying to speak to you through its most authentic self. So whilst I've come over now to the dark side where I literally am creating something new, I can feel in my fingertips that as I work towards this new consciousness, this dark consciousness, and I don't think I said this before, but the dark consciousness is actually the purest form of light. So it's not, I'm using air quotes again, dark consciousness, where we're all getting in the dark. It is still light. It is pure light, but even brighter than the current light. I can create the new consciousness using the energetic vibrational frequency that I already have within my fingertips. So before, when I was working sort of in the light grid and I could see consciousness as an energetic vibration, and I was able to see and pull in those strands of the universe and move them around and watch the energetic flows of where the collective consciousness was sitting, because you could literally see as it flows, as world events take shape and how people jump on board to whatever someone else is saying. Now that I'm over in this dark consciousness, I'm creating the new grid. So part of my genius, part of my skill set is in that creation of that new grid. And I know that that is one of the key components of what I am here to help consciousness do, is to move towards this new grid pattern by utilizing my vibrational energetic skills of I don't even know what the correct words are, but if I said coding or grid work or whatever, you would probably understand what I'm saying. But even as I'm saying this, I'm moving my hands around and you can't see it on a podcast, but it is like the threads on a spider web. It's like creating, I presume this is how you create material in the olden days when they had threads and they'd thread them all together. It feels like that, where there are these energetic threads that release from my hands as an energetic dark consciousness frequency of the purest and highest light for the good of all of us as a galactic universal consciousness. So everything that's being created in this new consciousness is based on us stepping into the true version of ourselves. So instead of where the light grid is full of shadow and doubt and fear and shame, this new grid is going to be created on our full truths, our genius selves, where we won't hold any of those fears of anger or jealousy or shame, and we won't have a world that is created on these shadows that we are spending our whole lives trying to alchemize. We will literally be able to live in a place or a consciousness field where we are just our true, authentic, genius selves, and we are doing so many amazing things. And it's just going to really shift the balance of our consciousness and the way that we fully evolve in the future. Obviously, I'm not going to be around for thousands and thousands of years in this incarnation, but I can see this as a possible evolution for consciousness into where it's going to go and what it's going to be. And that's another whole conversation that I will have another time. But this chat was more of stepping into the dark consciousness. And as I've only sort of really stepped into the knowledge and the understanding of this field, and I'm fully embracing myself in this new understanding and really trying to tap into my own knowledge and understanding of it, as well as gaining knowledge from the few people out there who are also on this frequency. I know that there will be more information coming to light, and some of the things that I may say may slightly change, but I finally feel like I found home. And if anything that I say resonates with you, or anything that you feel draws you into this dark consciousness, let me know, because I know it's not going to be something for the masses. It's not going to be something that everyone's going to go, oh my God, you're so right. I'm coming, wait for me. It's not. And I know that, and I get that, and I understand that, but that's part of my true calling now, is to really understand the power that I have when I step into the true version of self, no matter how alone I may feel. Anyway, guys, that is today's podcast. I will see you in the next podcast.